It is Wednesday at 6 o'clock, people. You know what time it is. It is time for you, the Alabama football fan, to get your Crimson Tide football fix. And what better way to do that than to be locked and loaded onto the hottest show on the streets, the best form of Crimson Tide football conversation, that being, in my own words, the podcast with yours truly, your liaison of conversation, conductor into all things Tide football, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And the show is always bigger than me, more than me, as I got my man John Ivory, call him JP, but the man John Ivory from behind the scenes, making sure we're looking good, feeling good, sounding good, doing good in all regards to the show, as we're streaming this to you via YouTube from Tuscaloosa. And as always, we encourage you each and every time to give a thumbs up, give a like on the show, and hit that subscribe button. Now, what that does for us here at TDA is that tells us to continue supplying you, pumping you out the best in news, notes, information, and coverage on your Alabama football team. It's because of you, the Alabama fans. We're over 8,000. That's right, over 8,000 subscribers strong on YouTube. So definitely want to encourage you to continue helping us grow the network, brand, and channel. Now on today, this evening, phone lines will be open the entire show. Phone lines open the entire show this evening. Now, of course, we will still have the call-in segments, but today, let your voice be heard. 205-448-1358, the number to call in to be a part of the show. 205-448-1358. We'll start things off with a few updates, and then after that, we will dive into something fun here. Ultimate fantasy football in terms of Alabama. If you could create your ultimate fantasy football offense of the Nick Saban era, who are the players that you would choose? I will break down my fantasy football offense in terms of Alabama players of the Nick Saban era. From there, we'll dive into ranking the 5 national championships under Nick Saban by order of significance. We'll dive into that. And then last but not least, we'll get into some Alabama in the NFL in terms of former Tide players that have landed some big-time contracts. But first and foremost here, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey spoke with reporters on today. He talked about how he is optimistic that in the fall of 2020, fall of this year, things will get back to normal in terms of sports. He sees that nothing will affect the fall season for football and where other sports are concerned going into the upcoming athletic venue. So he's very hopeful when you look at football, very hopeful when you look at basketball and other sports going into also soccer and sports going into the fall of 2020. Now, in terms of spring right now, he stated that there is a small window when you look at the possibility after the SEC meets up in Birmingham on April 15th to discuss where do we go from here. Can we continue? Do we need to continue in terms of bringing back some spring practices? If things go well in the meeting on April 15th, then we could get back to potentially having some spring practices. There's a small window for it, a narrow window for it, but Commissioner Sankey does see a possibility, an opportunity. But the big thing is he is optimistic for football to return in the fall of this year. So that's just coming from Commissioner Sankey meeting with reporters on today. Also, even though there may not be March Madness in terms of men and women's basketball, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, touchdownalabama.com, we still have our March Madness bracket here for you in voting on the best restaurants or bars in Tuscaloosa. We can look at what's the best spot, what's the best eating place, what's the best venue when you look at football season. Round 1 of voting for March Madness over, but round 2 has started. You can vote up until March 20th at 2 p.m., but round 1 was entertaining. Round 1 was exciting as a couple of your favorite venues have danced on. They have advanced on on to round 2 of the big dance, the TDA big dance, if you will. Some of these favorite venues here. We look at Rama Jammers, moving on to round 2. Dreamland Barbecue moves on. Full Moon Barbecue moved on. How about 5 Bar? It two-stepped its way into round 2. And Gallett's here in Tuscaloosa did the very same thing as well. So we encourage you to go to touchdownalabama.com, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Get your vote on right now. Round 2 has started. Who makes it on? Who advances on to the next stage of the big dance of the best restaurants and or bars in the city? You can continue that. You can start the voting right now for round 2, as it will go up until March 20th at 2 p.m. This coming from Touchdown Alabama Magazine, touchdownalabama.com. But the individual that has not been affected by the coronavirus pandemic, that be one Christian Barmore, the defensive lineman, rising sophomore at the University of Alabama. The young man still putting in work. I'm telling you, spring practice might be canceled, classes might be going online, but the young man from Philly, Christian Barmore, at 6'5", 310, he is at work with a local high school football coach, Coach Troy Gore. If you see the footage here on screen, Barmore is working on footwork drills, agility drills, core strength drills. He's working the sled. He is doing everything possible to put himself in the best situation to be a monster, a wrecking ball, a beast in the upcoming season. So kudos to Christian Barmore. But as we dive into the first topic of conversation here on this evening, in my own words, the podcast, we're having a little fun here. Everybody loves fantasy football. Whether you play for fun, whether you play for money, whether you draft your own team, whether you do the auto drafting thing or you get your friends to draft your roster for you, everybody enjoys fantasy football. It causes us to watch the game in a much bigger light, whether it being for our favorite team or just the favorite particular players that we have drafted. But today, we're going to look at, if you, the fans, if you had an opportunity to draft the ultimate fantasy Alabama football offense of Nick Saban pieces, ultimate fantasy Alabama football offense of the Nick Saban era with Coach Saban pieces, we're looking at from 2007 to 2019 and moving on, who would be those players? Who would you take? Who would you select? Who would you draft? And for me, I've taken the liberty to do my list here. So on the offensive line, if I had to look at my fantasy guys on the offensive line. So offensive line, give me Big Andre Smith at left tackle. Give me Chance Warmack at left guard. Give me Antoine Caldwell at center. Give me Barrett Jones at right guard. And give me Cam Robinson at right tackle. So that would be my offensive line there. At quarterback, and I had some struggle with this because I like A.J. McCarron. I really do. I like Jacob Coker. Think he's a very underrated guy, big-time arm. Really appreciated what Blake Sims and Jalen Hurts did. But give me Tua Tagovailoa. Give me Tua as my quarterback. I will take Mark Ingram as my running back. First Heisman Trophy winner in the history of the Alabama football program. So give me Mark Ingram at running back. You will have your choice, fans, at 3 wide receivers. You can pick 3. My 3 wide receivers of the Nick Saban era in terms of this Alabama offense. Give me Julio Jones at the X position. I would have Julio at the top of the formation. Give me Amari Cooper at the Z at the bottom, running his routes, being crafty and deceptive as he was. In the slot, I will take Henry Ruggs III, Mr. 4'2", Mr. 42-inch vert, Mr. 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump, Mr. Freak of Nature himself at 5'11", 188 pounds with those 10-inch hands. I will take Henry Ruggs in the slot. At tight end, give me O.J. Howard. I like Irv Smith. I like Michael Williams. I like Nick Williams. I like Travis McCall. There were a lot of good tight ends for the Crimson Tide, but give me O.J. Howard at that position there, tight end. In terms of kicking, in the kicking game, Now, in the kicking game, kick return game, and punt return game, fans, we got a little twist on this. Now, because there's not a lot of big-time kickers, there's not a lot of punt returners, kick returners of the Nick Saban era, here comes the twist here. You can choose any kicker, you can choose any punt returner, and any kick returner of Alabama football, period. But before I dive into finishing up my list here, we're going to go to the call line right now, where we pick up Waylon. Waylon, how you doing on a fine Wednesday, my friend?
Man, today is hump day, Stephen M., and I watch this news, and it takes me back to that old Johnny Gill song, My. What do you think, Stephen? What is going on in downtown T-Town?
It's serious, man. Campus deserted here. Everybody taking the precautions, everybody being proactive. Now, of course, I mentioned that Commissioner Sankey is hopeful that once the SEC meets back up on April 15th, that we can go back to maybe having some spring practices. There's a slight window there. The good news is he is optimistic that come fall, football returns. So Commissioner Sankey doing some things from the outside looking in, just making sure that for the fall season, football will be in full swing.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I've been reading quite a bit about that. I hope everything works out, and we'll just have to keep our prayers going up and keep our hopes up and keep our faith strong. There's no doubt about that, and everything will work out to the best. But I see you want to do a little fantasy football team there on offense. Well, I'll just sit back and let you ask me which player I think needs to go where on offense. So whenever you're ready, unload on me, Stephen.
Okay. So, Waylon, if you got to pick your offensive line. Now, for offensive line, Waylon, simple. You can either pick 5 guys, or if you just like a particular offensive unit of the Nick Saban era, you can pick the year that unit played in.
Going back to the offensive line would be when the Quantrill brothers was there, Warmack, Barrett Jones, and I believe that wraps that up. Am I missing one, or did I get them all right there? Did I miss one, Stephen?
You would be referring to the 2012 group, Waylon. So you're going with
That's correct.
You're going with the 2012 group for offensive line. All right, man. Quarterback.
Well, we've got to go. I've always, Tua was so accurate, and he was the best. But game management, I've always looked at games management. We're going to go AJ.
All right, A.J. McCarron down for Waylon at quarterback. Waylon, give me a running back.
Big D. Henry.
Derrick Henry for running back. Now, Waylon, you can get to choose 3 wide receivers. Who them wide outs?
We're going Julio, Judy, and Ruggs III.
Julio, Judy, Ruggs, tight end. Let's go, Waylon, tight end.
You got to remember the sweet hands of O.J. Howard.
O.J. at tight end. Now, for special teams, Waylon, you can pick anybody that played at Alabama. Anybody. So, kicker.
Well, I have to go back to a long time ago, and that's my neighbor right down the road, Mr. Van Tiffin.
Yeah, Van Tiffin's a great one. Kick returner.
Well, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with Drake. I believe he was a pretty good kick returner, don't you?
I mean, he had that 95-yard scooch to the house against Clemson, so yeah, we'll go Drake there. And finally, Waylon, punt returner.
We're gonna have to go with Waddle Baby.
All right, so we're gonna go Waddle Baby for punt returner. So Waylon's got his list, a very fine list it is. For me, to I guess finish up mine, Waylon, for kicker, I'm going to go Jamie Christensen from the early 2000s. Now, Jamie, the ball probably didn't come off his foot pretty, but it always went to the goal post. So I'll take Jamie Christensen, kicker. Kickoff returner, give me Christian Jones. And punt returner, Waddle Baby's the man. No problem with Jalen Waddle. But punt returner, give me 2-8. Give me Javier Arenas.
Of course. I hadn't forgot about Javier. He was the man, no doubt about it.
Javier Arenas was a big-time playmaker. But, Waylon, we're going to want you to call back in the second segment to give us that poem, okay?
I got the poem ready here. I'll let you do what you got to do, and I'll give you a buzz back in a few minutes then. Thank you, Stephen.
No problem. We got Wayne in here providing us his list of his fantasy football at Alabama. We're going to go to a break here on In My Own Words, the podcast. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started on a Wednesday. When we return, we get into your phone calls, tweets, text messages, thoughts, questions, and concerns after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in the Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.